New footage for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey has just been shown on TV during the AFC Championship in the US, and it gives us some new scenes from the director's latest film. A majority of the new footage shown looks as great as the initial trailer, but there is also an appearance from Travis Scott in the TV spot that has received some mixed reactions to it. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you my breakdown and reaction to the Odyssey footage, presenting my thoughts on what was seen, and what I think about Christopher Nolan's new fantasy epic. Just to note, this is a re-upload because my breakdown was blocked the other day. I included images from the TV spot, thinking that it had been released officially. It looks like Universal aren't releasing this TV spot online, so I've re-uploaded the breakdown without any of the footage or images included. There will be other images to support the commentary though, and if you want to see the TV spot yourself, then you could probably find it online somewhere. But without further ado, let's dive into the new footage for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. So starting with my breakdown of the new footage, a lot of this TV spot is based around book 1 to 4 of the Odyssey story, where Telemachus is set on the path of finding out if his father is still alive, and then hearing the story of Troy from Menelaus. They have intercut 2 moments with Telemachus in this TV spot, one from before he leaves Ithaca, and then one in Sparta. The spot opens inside what looks like a grand banquet hall in Sparta, where Menelaus and Helen are celebrating the separate marriages of their son and daughter. We get a quick shot of John Bernthald's Menelaus and Lupita Nyong'o's Helen in the background, addressing those there in question of a story about Odysseus. Something to note is that there are a couple of shots within all of this in Sparta that seem to be quite misleading, and that's because they are set a bit before the scene in Sparta. There's one shot of Tom Holland's Telemachus asking someone about what they know of his dad. It looks like he's actually speaking to Robert Pattinson's Antinous, one of the most defiant suitors back in Ithaca. Another shot then confirms this as we see the suitors laughing in the hall with Pattinson's character sat amongst them. In the story, Athena advises Telemachus to call together the suitors and announce their banishment from his father's estate. She then tells him that he must make a journey to Pylos and Sparta to ask for any news of his father. Antinous rebukes Telemachus and asks the identity of the visitor he had been speaking with, which was Athena in disguise. Antinous blames the whole situation of no progress on Penelope, who he says seduces every suitor but will not commit to one of them. My guess is that the scene between Holland and Pattinson is that very one where Antinous questions the visitor, and based on the way the other suitors act in the hall, I'm guessing Antinous will come across mocking in his tone. Every other shot we get in a similar looking hall is actually from that mentioned Sparta scene with Menelaus, and this is where we also get something that has received a lot of mixed reactions to it. And that is the recounting of the fall of Troy from Travis Scott standing atop a table. In the footage, he's in full costume with braided hair, he demands attention, and everyone in the hall turns toward him. We hear Scott's character speak, saying, "A war, a man, a trick to break the walls of Troy." This serves as a sort of mini narration, both a hook and a summary of Homer's key Trojan War element. Of course, Travis Scott worked with Nolan on Tenet for the credit song, and a part of his music became main notes in the actual score. He also has come out on multiple occasions defending film to be shown theatrically, and has built a friendship with Nolan during their collaboration. So on that level, it's no surprise that he appears here. On a character level though, what we are basically seeing here is a role that is probably only a couple of lines long, as we see in the TV spot. His voice is foregrounded, layered over the orchestral score by Ludwig Göransson, and it's with this that we get a montage of footage played on screen, both from Odysseus at the walls of Troy and on his journey that follows. What I think this TV spot is really doing, beyond just showing off the spectacle and a surprising Travis Scott appearance, is quietly anchoring Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey in the core idea of Homer's story. That this is not just a tale of monsters and long journeys, but a story about the power of human cunning, reputation, and storytelling itself. Scott's line about a war, a man and a trick to break the walls of Troy, compresses the entire Trojan War into a single idea that defines Odysseus more than anything else. He doesn't win through brutal force, but through his mind. By putting that line in the mouth of a herald-like figure standing above a crowded hall, the ad frames the Trojan horse not just as a plot device, but as a myth being retold inside the movie's world, as if the characters themselves are already turning Odysseus into a legend. This fits Nolan's style perfectly, as he often structures his films around people narrating or reframing events after they happen, and this spot suggests that The Odyssey will be about how Odysseus' story spreads, mutates, and gains power as much as about the journey itself. Troy is the moment where Odysseus becomes famous, where his identity shifts from soldier to mythic trickster. The TV spot is using that moment as the emotional and thematic seed of the entire journey. Everything that follows, all the wandering and suffering, flows from that single clever act. By then cutting from Scott's speech to flashes of ships, soldiers, and visual chaos, the footage thus focuses on a cause and effect chain. One idea and one trick detonates into 10 years of bloodshed and displacement. That makes The Odyssey feel more like the long shadow of one pivotal decision, which again feels very Nolan-esque, turning an ancient myth into something that feels like a tragic ripple effect. Travis Scott's presence in turn plays into this idea in quite an interesting way, regardless of how you feel about it. He's not just a celebrity cameo, he's being used as a kind of modern day bard or hype man who were present in those early books from The Odyssey, and someone whose voice carries authority and cultural weight. In ancient Greece, poets and storytellers were the ones who made heroes immortal, and Scott's role in this TV spot mirrors that very function. He stands above the crowd, commanding attention, turning a military trick into a story worth repeating. That parallels how Odysseus' fame spreads in the epic as people hear about him long before they meet him, and his reputation becomes almost as powerful as the man himself. So what are my thoughts on all the new footage for The Odyssey? Well, taken together, I think the TV spot is more like a thesis statement for the whole movie. It frames The Odyssey not as a greatest hits tour of Greek myth, but as a meditation on how a single clever act creates a legend, and how that legend then traps the man who created it. Odysseus wins Troy with his mind, but that victory chains him to a fate of wandering, loss, and longing for home. By opening with a storyteller figure declaring that trick to a crowded hall, I think it suggests that the movie will constantly bounce between the myth being told and the human cost behind it. The gap between who Odysseus is and who the world believes he is. That tension between reality and the stories we tell about it is what makes The Odyssey endure, and it looks like Nolan is leaning directly into the heart of that myth. Even if we might be initially taken aback by the use of Travis Scott in this footage, the use of him and his short role in underlining the myth is something that for me actually works in what it's going for. Again, he's not a main role or anything, it's just a small inclusion meant to add to a scene that we already know is going to be focused on Telemachus and Menelaus. We saw the same scene play out in the teaser trailer back in July and at the start of the IMAX prologue, and based on all that, it looks certain that this will be the case. Furthermore, the technical execution of the spot and the way the dialogue and the score is framed to the stunning cinematography makes it all cinematically purposeful, continuing to carry the tension that has been built upon in other pieces of marketing. So overall, I thought this TV spot was pretty good, and I think the meltdowns online towards Travis are a bit over the top. If Travis genuinely looked bad in just the couple of lines of dialogue he had, I would genuinely be worried. But it reminds me of the whole Harry Styles situation in Dunkirk, and look how that turned out. Also, Styles was in a lot more of that movie than Travis is going to be in The Odyssey. So at the end of the day, for me, the visuals, the score, and the promise of an epic with all the mythic weight you expect have me just as excited as I was before seeing this new footage. But that was my video discussing my thoughts and breaking down the new footage from Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Regardless of what you think about the Travis Scott appearance, I think the new footage looks great as a whole, and it continues to promise an epic adaptation of the source material. It's looking like Nolan has put together another meticulously built film, one driven by commanding performances, bold visual choices, and a booming Ludwig Göransson score. I'm excited to see what other footage we see in the coming months, and that seems to be quite soon, as it was just rumoured that the film will also have a TV spot at the Super Bowl. Of course, the actual film could very well end up disappointing us, but all we can go on is what we've seen in the marketing. And for the most part, I think Nolan's film is looking pretty great. But if you've seen the new footage for The Odyssey, let me know down below in the comment section what you thought, alongside whether it gets you even more excited for Christopher Nolan's epic film. For much more videos and news on Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey film, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.